overboard, but thank you. I'm Thomas Fenske. I've published 3 mysteries, as she said, and in a mysterious bit of irony, a cookbook as well, which is actually a companion book to the others. Since I'm new to most of you, I think I'll start at the beginning because my plots are fairly complex, and so I'll give you some background from my first novel, The Fever. As the story opens, the hero, Sam Milton, is hiking out of a remote Texas mountain range after another frustrating weekend search. While he walked, he daydreamed, brooding over the same question he asked himself every time he hiked in the quiet chill of this lonely landscape. Is this really worth it? His friends back in Austin asking him that same question every time he left town to make another long drive out west, and the same rationalizations were always debated. The danger, the weather, the time and money, and most of all, the trespassing. Did you try asking for permission? His friend Sally had once asked him. Of course I did, he answered. Early on, it had indeed seemed reasonable enough to simply ask, mind if I look around? But then the inevitable next question would come. Why? As he walked, Sam pondered the simple one-word answer to that question, the word that complicated everything. Gold. His friends scoffed at the word, and he had found that strangers scoffed too, but with an added mixture of suspicion and skepticism. That alone gave him plenty of incentive to avoid the subject, but he knew there were other deeper undertones to a stranger's reaction. The moment one got to the heart of the matter, something came over people as if a smoldering bit of wonderment had been ignited deep within them. It would glisten back at him through their eyes, and he would know they had already begun to secretly conjure up an infinite number of what-if scenarios. He could predict this as readily as a scientist could predict the outcome of a chemical reaction because it always happened whenever he stammered that one simple word. In these musings, I use the term what if. In fact, The Fever is pretty much based on a what if scenario. Let's see. What if a regular sort of guy gets in trouble and is thrown in jail on a crowded jail on a busy holiday weekend, and he befriends a sick and dying wino? Is that a good imaginative what if? Well, what if I told you that this same thing happened to me? I guess I should add here, my charges were later dropped. But most writers tend to pull from bits and pieces of life that happen across their paths, infusing some details with a heavy dose of what if. It's sometimes called memory mining. I call it writing with a slice of life. Here's how my borrowed experience progresses in the book. In a flashback as he hikes, my hero Sam remembers himself in a jam. At the police station, he sat alone in a small room for a long time. Eventually, he was greeted by a detective who seemed quite friendly and reasonable at first, and as they chatted, Sam hoped that the mistake would soon be realized and he would be released with some kind of warning. That naive hope was short-lived. The knife you were carrying is a 1/4 inch too long and qualifies as a Bowie knife under Texas state law. You're going to be charged with an illegal weapon. Sam could not believe this was happening to him. He was doubly amazed that a Bowie knife was illegal. Jim Bowie was a Texas hero, famous for his knife. To Sam, it just didn't seem right. I want to emphasize something here. In my own personal encounter, it wasn't a Bowie knife at all. It was a hunting knife I borrowed from my dad to take camping. Any self-respecting Bowie knife should have been twice the size of that knife. Anyway, at this point, things started progressing on a downward trend for Sam as he continued his flashback. The metallic clang of the door closing behind him was one shock, but a second shock came when he surveyed his new home. A profound din of background noise was already giving him a headache. The prevalent sound was constant chatter intensified by the bare walls. People took turns standing at a small barred opening on the main door, yelling back and forth between neighboring jail blocks as they tried to communicate with real or imagined comrades. Hey, Joe! And then the response would be totally unintelligible by Sam. Well, tell Joe, Sam's here. No, not Sam, anyway. This went on and on. Sam assumed that understanding such garbled chatter was an acquired trait that he secretly hoped was a skill he would never need to master. Okay, these are literally moments peeled from my memory and pasted into the story. But what's it really all about? Well, we need to rejoin Sam's flashback to find out more. Sam looked at his nearest neighbor, a filthy, slightly built man who was slouched over on one elbow with his eyes closed, The guy smelled of body odor and alcohol. Sam wasn't sure which was worse, but before he could decide, the man moaned ominously, then leaned down close to the floor and wheezed and coughed uncontrollably for several seconds. There was bloody spittle on the floor, so Sam reached over and nudged the man. "Hey, buddy, you okay?" Just to interject, this is Slim, the wino. There really was a Slim too, but this is where my reality starts to divert into the fictional reality. In the story, Slim is hurt and knows he's dying. Nobody but Sam cares, and that spurs Slim to reward our hero's kindness with a secret he's carried for years. The secret that probably what-ifed him right onto this jail floor. Now listen, way out in West Texas, there's some mountains. Slim pulled Sam's ear close to his mouth as he rasped, "Gold." Time seemed to stand still as the word emerged out of an invisible cloud of stale wine-laden bad breath. Slim continued in a wheezing whisper, "There's a gold mine out there. I ain't never seen it, but my grandpa knew about it. He looked for it for years. My daddy looked for it too. Hell, I looked for it for years. None of us ever found it, but I tell you, it's out there somewhere." Slim coughed, and any remaining color seemed to be fading from his lips and face. "My grandpa knew a guy named Ben Sublett. Look him up. He's a regular legend. He told Grandpa, you gotta follow the devil and look for the table, then turn around and you'll see the why of it. I know it don't make no sense, but it ain't supposed to until you get there. You just have to keep searching until it does make sense. A fortune. That's what I'm giving you, a fortune. Don't forget what I told you. You find it, and it's yours." Spoiler, this Slim dies. Mine didn't. Oh, and Ben Sublett, his lost gold mine really is an old Texas legend. In the story, Sam is soon spurred on by a sudden revelation about the first clue in the riddle, and sorry, I guess I have to leave something for you to find out for yourselves, right? Maybe I'll add a little insight into the question. Some people ask me, just what is the fever? Later in the story, another character, an old codger named Lute Meldings, explains it to Sam this way. The fever? It's gold fever. Or it could be silver fever, or hell, I guess diamond fever. It's whatever gets under your skin and makes you scratch the ground looking to get rich. Lute leaned forward and stared Sam right in the eye. You got it too, ain't you? A tagline I like to tweet is a riddle, a treasure, and an obsession. What could possibly go wrong? Apparently a lot of stuff. Once he solves that clue, Sam is in a rush to get back out in the field to check it out, but in his haste, he bypasses many of the safeguards he had employed on previous trips, which of course leads to trouble. And things seem to keep going wrong. The Traces of Treasure series is now expanded to 3 books. I've got some cards and stuff over here. You can check my website out and see the whole series for yourself. So you got The Fever, A Curse That Bites Deep, and my latest, Lucky Strike. And it's not all hiking in gold. Romance crosses Sam's path more than once, and with it comes some of the balance and help he needs. His eventual girlfriend, feisty cafe owner Smidgen Toll, takes on a lot of the action in the second and third books. In fact, the cookbook I mentioned earlier is presented as her book. The Mossback Cafe cookbook is based on dishes served in what I like to call the best little fictional cafe in Texas. It's a frequent and central locale in all 3 books. Well, hopefully I've piqued your interest. I've got some books for sale over here, and like I said, some cards and some other materials. And by the way, this weekend, just hoping I've got your interest, the ebook, the Kindle edition of my first novel, The Fever, is on sale for 99 cents at Amazon. Thank you all.